Hey gang, and welcome to another Animal Crossing video. I'm Crossing Channel, and I don't know about you, but I've found the Animal Crossing 2.0 update to be so overwhelming. There's just so much information to process here, which is of course a really good thing, but I found that upon rewatching the Direct, I've seen lots of things that I and other people have missed, so I thought it'd be a good idea to make a video going over some of the features in the 2.0 update that you might have missed yourself. I'll be taking a look at lots of little details that hopefully you didn't know about, so we're gonna jump into this video. Quickly before we do, I want to mention that I do stream Animal Crossing New Horizons over on Twitch, so if you want to come watch Animal Crossing live, be sure to check out the link in the description so you can follow my Twitch account. So the first detail that we can see is actually coming from the Roost, and it's a difference between the English and Japanese versions of the Animal Crossing Direct. We can see that the character has different reactions depending on the type of coffee that Brewster ends up giving them. Now this doesn't necessarily mean you can order different types of coffee when talking to Brewster, but sometimes the coffee he gives you will give you different pieces of dialogue. For example, sometimes it'll say, oh, it's really bitter, and we can see that the character has a different reaction to that, or sometimes it's really mild and maybe they'll just have the normal smiling reaction. It's just a small little detail, but it helps make the game feel more dynamic in my opinion, so your character actually has some realistic reactions to what they're drinking. Though it would be amazing if we could order different coffee types. We didn't really learn too much about the Roost, so I'm hoping there's other things that we don't know yet. Next, we can also see that there are some hidden gyroids in the back room of the Roost. Now, I'm not actually sure if this will be a feature, if there's any kind of connection here, or if it's purely decoration, but it's definitely very interesting to me that there are so many gyroids back here. It does feel a little bit suspicious since it was data mined there was going to be some kind of gyroid section in the cafe, so I'm not sure if this is it, if it'll have any kind of functionality, or it's just for decoration. Now, one of the most surprising parts of the Direct, in my opinion, is that Kapp'n can actually take us to these new mystery islands where we can see new types of plants and bushes. And of course that means we can see two new types of bushes which are known as the Plumeria bushes, and they of course come in two different colors as you can see here. This is really cool. I'm happy we can get a new bush. It doesn't appear like you'll be able to get this one from Leaf. It seems like you'll have to get it fully grown from these islands, which is pretty cool. So it gives you a reason to need to go there if you want to farm these different bushes, and of course the vines as well. Speaking of the vines, something that I haven't seen people talking about very much is the fact that you can actually use these vines to climb up cliffs like you can with ladders. This is incredibly cool, as it seems like you can place these vines on your cliffs back at home in your own island, so you can use them to climb up if you would prefer to. Of course, you can craft the new ladder kits, but if you'd prefer to use something more natural like the vines, that's something you can do. It would be really interesting if these vines were also used in some crafting materials. I feel like that would be a really neat idea. Getting more resources in the game is always a good idea, so you've got lots of different things to collect, so I would like that a lot. We can also see here that there is a new type of weed which has been introduced, which I think will be used for crafting materials in DIY recipes. Perhaps it could even be used in some of the new cooking recipes. That would be really cool, although I'm not exactly sure what this weed is. Now, one thing I found really interesting about Crazy Red's stall, aside from the fact that he's even there because it was so difficult to find him previously, is the fact that he appears to have his own raffle which you can enjoy this time around. That means that perhaps we'll see some brand new raffle prizes, maybe even the ones that he gave out in Animal Crossing New Leaf, which were retro Nintendo toy themed prizes. I don't know how this will work, but I doubt that he's going to give us the boba or anything like that, as that would take away from the fireworks event, so I'm guessing that his raffle will give new prizes. It would be insanely cool though if his raffle actually gave us fortune cookies, which would definitely be a great returning feature to the game, so I'm interested in seeing how all these different shops work, and especially Red's raffle. We can also see that Leaf now seems to be selling fertilizer. I really doubt this is just decoration, as it is so prominently shown. It would be very odd for them to do that when you can see other stores clearly show off some of the wares that the characters can sell. So I'm guessing that Leaf will sell fertilizer, and it'll work like it did in Animal Crossing New Leaf, where it'll kind of help things grow a lot better. This will be interesting to see how it works though, and I'm happy we're getting more items that'll hopefully improve the sort of farming elements of the game. I'm also really curious to see what else Leaf is going to sell, as I really can't imagine right now. I mean, how are their shops going to differ from their rotating sort of vendor slots in the plaza? I'm really curious about that. We can see here that furniture sets from Animal Crossing games of old are finally returning to the game, which is one of the most heavily requested things. Now, we haven't seen all of them, but we have seen a few, and one really a good example of this is the Rocco furniture set. You can see the sofa here. It looks a bit different than it did back in Animal Crossing New Leaf, but I feel like that's maybe because it's been customized. We can see from the cooking menu, which is an exciting new feature introduced in this update, that there's actually 2 new types of ingredients you will need to unlock aside from the vegetables, and these are flour and sugar. So it's really cool to see these actually come to the game and there be more elements to cooking. I'm hoping there's other things that we haven't seen yet, but of course these will be made with the different vegetables that you can grow on your island. Talking of cooking, you'll also be able to get new types of crafting benches, which of course this time around are actually kitchen stoves. I really like these, and I hope there's a big variety of them, as there's quite a few crafting tables of different sizes. We did actually see a few different sizes for these in the Island Direct, so I'm hoping there's even more that we haven't seen yet, but I personally love this Stonework Kitchen that they've shown off here. You can also see in the trailer that of course you can eat the food that you make, which is really neat. But one thing that it does that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about is that it'll actually increase your energy by a lot. For example, when this character ate the pizza, it actually increased their energy +5. So if you're trying to move a lot of things and you don't want to bother to eat a ton of stuff at once, one by one, you can simply eat one of your dishes to get a lot of energy at once. One of my favorite new features is the fact that you can customize fences, and of course they've introduced some brand new fences as well. We can see, however, that this log fencing isn't actually entirely new to the game, as it comes from Harvey's Island, and this was one of the most requested items that we couldn't previously access. People previously knew it as Harvey's fence as it only appeared there, but now we can finally get it for ourselves, just like we can with the customized white fences which we saw in trailers ages ago. Speaking of the white fences, it's finally back in the game, which is really cool, and you can see there's lots of different varieties for the fences that you can customize. However, one thing that I want to note is they did mention that not every single type of fence will be able to be customized, so I'm really curious which ones won't be customizable, because I have so many different ideas for how lots of these could look, and I feel like this is really going to help separate people's islands when they can do all kinds of different fence setups. We can see that Leaf Store now has a brand new sign which is showing off the vegetables that you can buy from him. So it seems like you won't be buying these from his island store over in Harvey's Island, but I guess we'll have to see exactly how that works. I've seen a lot of discussion about the green thing on the sign, and a lot of people seem to think that it's a bell pepper, and sadly, I honestly don't think it is. My best guess, it is a green pumpkin. You can see that, talking of vegetables and cooking, there are some new tabs in your crafting menu that show savory and sweet items, and the tools icon has changed a little bit as well to utilize cooking tools, which is very interesting and makes me wonder what kinds of tools we will get that we can use for cooking. A new reaction that has been spotted that I personally really love is the fact that you can now do a muscly flex in the game, which is hilarious. I just wanted to point this one out because Nintendo didn't actually go over all of the new reactions that we can see, they just kind of glossed over it. So I thought it'd be fun to mention this one since I know this one's going to be a meme and I know people are going to talk about it a lot, so I wanted to get ahead of it. Now, we can see that there are some brand new items you can get from your Nook Mile redemption screen, not just new unlocks, but tons of new items as well. And I really like the look of some of these. I can't wait to get my hands on them. One really notable one in my opinion is the flower bed. I can see that being one of the most popular items in the game. And of course, if you don't like the color that you get from this machine, you can of course go to Reese and Cyrus on Harvey's Island to change that, which is an amazing feature. Speaking of these new items that you can redeem, something really struck out to me that I'm super curious about. Now, we have these new items which are called Plaza Items, like Plaza Arch, Plaza Clock, Plaza Balloon Wagon. So, does this mean that we may finally be able to put items on the Plaza? That would be incredible if we could do that, even if it was a limited selection that they've designed that work with the Plaza. Personally, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is not the case, and that they've just changed the name to have some kind of cohesive set like they do with other furniture pieces in the game. One really neat little detail that I noticed is when you plant a gyroid, little steam will actually start to appear from the ground. I really love this new mechanic. I'm so glad that they didn't just have the gyroids like they were in the past game. It's good that there's more elements to them now, and you actually need to do a little bit of work if you want to get the full gyroids. So if you want to make sure you've watered them, you can see this little plume of smoke coming up from the soil. Speaking of gyroids, we noticed that you actually can display the little gyroid fragments which you need to plant. So if you just like the way these look, you don't even need to plant them, you can simply display them like you can with anything else. Of course, they won't actually do anything at all, which is a little bit sad for these poor guys. They don't get to realize their full potential, but I honestly think they look really cool, especially if you've got some kind of archaeology or design themed island. There are some brand new posters which we can see in the Dodo airport, and this makes me wonder how many other changes they've made to existing things in the game, just like they did with the sign outside of Leaf's little vendor stall. These, of course, advertise the special new island which you can go to if you get the DLC. It's just a cute little detail, but I like it a lot, and I wonder if these will only appear if you've bought the DLC, or if they appear there just anyways to kind of advertise the DLC. Speaking of the DLC, we'll now be getting into features from that, and you can notice the little boat that appears in the dock there. Now, I first wondered if maybe this would actually be run by Kapp'n and maybe he would take you somewhere else special, but I've realized now that this is actually the boat that Nico will use to take you to the different archipelagos so you can design villager homes. Back in Happy Home Designer, you'd actually use a car, but of course that won't really work this time around unless they can drive on the ocean. Talking of the archipelagos, one thing that I really like is the fact you can actually see which villager homes you've already decorated. Their little icons will appear on the map so you know which characters are living where. It does make me curious though, can we only design one home per archipelago? I certainly hope we can keep designing them again and again like you could back in Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer. I spoke briefly earlier about the fact that old furniture sets are returning to the game, and here's another one that you can see, which is actually the ranch furniture. This time around though, you can customize it, and there are also some new pieces introduced like the little kitchen as well. I really love this, and I hope all of the old furniture sets return. I feel like that would just make this the best update ever, as I really do miss a lot of them. But either way, the fact that at least some of them have made their way back makes me really happy. Everyone loves Froggy Chair, of course, so I had to mention him within this video, and one really neat detail is that you can actually customize Froggy Chair this time around. I believe you could actually do this back in Happy Home Designer, so it's cool that they've brought this back, and you can finally get the elusive golden Froggy Chair. I actually noticed that there are some little sticks pointing out from the river, which just makes the river feel so much more interesting. It does make me wonder if maybe we could put these on our own island somehow, as of course you can see that the archipelago does use the vines and the ladders that we can get back at home. So I'm wondering if maybe they would allow us to get some of these types of things from the islands that Kapp'n takes us to. That certainly would be really great. One new item that I had to point out that I really want to bring to people's attentions is you can now actually get a cave item in the game. I'm so happy about this. It's absolutely fantastic. A lot of people were making their own kind of imaginary caves using the Mario blocks, but now you can actually get a cave, which is just so cool. Perhaps one of the things people wanted to see the most in an Animal Crossing update is villagers having more interactions with items. And finally, we can see on the archipelago that they actually do. Look at our villagers floating around in these little floaties in the water. They're also enjoying a barbecue and playing with a bouncy speech ball as well. So I'm really happy to see this. I feel like the villagers getting improvements like this is great, and I hope they have some of these improvements on our own island as well. It was actually data mined that villagers could wear wetsuits in a previous data mine, so I'm wondering if maybe that'll have some kind of involvement here as well. Going way back to the start of the Direct, a detail that I noticed is you can actually order takeaway coffee from Brewster like you could back in Animal Crossing New Leaf. If you were going to work for him, which is sadly something they didn't show off but still could be possible, this is probably likely where you would talk to him to start up work as well. So I really like this. It also seems like the special characters which appear will also order their takeaway coffee from here rather than actually sit down with you. Still, I am hoping you can see characters sit down at the counter of the Roost like they could back in Animal Crossing New Leaf. One final thing before I end off this huge list of features and details that people missed is we can see that you can actually buy the cooking recipes from Nook's Cranny. Now, I'm not sure if this will be every single cooking recipe because I feel like that'd be really cheap if you got all of them for just nearly 5,000 bells, but it certainly seems like you can at least buy some of them. Maybe others will be learnt via villagers or be gotten from the other usual ways that you get recipes. I personally would prefer that, as I feel like it'd make it too easy if you could simply just buy them all at once from Nook's Cranny, but we'll have to see how it works. So that is all of the interesting things that I noticed within the Animal Crossing Direct for the 2.0 update that I think are really cool and hopefully you didn't know about. Let me know in the comment section down below what you've noticed though that I have missed in this video. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. If you made it to the end of the video, be sure to comment Bob's Gang down below so I know you did. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on channel notifications for more Animal Crossing videos. I want to give a big thanks to these channel members for their continued support of me and what I do here on this channel. I also want to give a special shout out to Rosalind Plays and David Timperley for becoming Bob's Bestie members. If you want to become a channel member, click the join button down below the video or the link in the description to learn more. You can get a whole bunch of cool perks like exclusive emojis, a badge by your name, access to our members only Discord and our members only podcast too.